In 2012, we started at Feather River College, and our focus was through the CTE and EWD programs, but to make all of the work that we were doing where it could be accessible across the campus, across disciplines, was really a key goal that we had. And we started with really extensive research. We also became futurist because we realized that being able to look ahead was incredibly important in being able to prepare our students. And one of the key components here is really looking at the emerging knowledge economy, or what is now being dubbed the human economy. And this gets down to the skills that can't be automated, with a growing focus actually on freelance and contract work. And some of you may be familiar, the Department of Labor has been putting out a lot of information about this. There was also a fantastic Forbes article that outlined that we, by the year 2020, will most likely have about 40 to 50% of our workforce doing some type of freelance work. They may not be complete entrepreneurs all the time, but they might be doing some contract work in addition to regular secured paid employment. So we really are looking at a very different workforce than the one that happened even 20, 30 years ago. So one of the big things that we wanted to do is to combine all of this research we were doing with real input. And we actually gathered employers, recruiters, HR representatives, as well as educators and students. And what we were looking at is, what are the skills that you think are required for this new knowledge economy? And we actually thought that we were going to get a lot of feedback on very specific skills, coding skills or skills specific to an industry. And again, the feedback was what we used to call the soft skills. Now we're calling the employability skills, that those were the key components that employers were looking for. They wanted to see students or re-entry workers coming back into the workforce with those skills in place. And from that, we were able to condense all the crossover in that feedback to our top 10 list of 21st century essential skills, which are adaptability, analysis and solution mindset, collaboration, communication, digital fluency, entrepreneurial mindset, empathy, resilience, self-awareness, and social and diversity awareness. And these skills, they're very broad topics when you look at them. So one of the other key components of the work that we did in partnership with the Mozilla Foundation, they had gathered national research on college and career competencies from organizations and from education programs across the country. And we cross-referenced those, and we were able to come up with a list of primary attributes. And this is 4 core components under each of these skills that really help define what that skill means in the modern workforce. We'll actually be hosting that document open source soon on our website, but if anyone's interested after the webinar, I'm happy to follow up with emails and can send that out to you as well. It's a really great way to start the conversation around how do you look at this broad skill and break it down into quantifiable units of what a student can actually learn if they're adaptable in the workplace or if they have empathy. And just as a quick aside, we know that there are a lot of terms that are being used to kind of cover this umbrella of 21st century skills. You might have heard cross-disciplinary skills, transferable skills, non-cognitive skills, and again, like I said, soft skills usually was the term that was used. And really what it comes down to is it's work habits, knowledge, character traits, the interpersonal and intrapersonal skills that individuals really need to be competitive and successful in a very changeable workplace. And the lucky thing is that just like any other subject, these skills can be taught. And that was a really fundamental thing that we realized, is that oftentimes students were going out into the workforce or even re-entering the workforce, and they were being judged against a set of parameters that they didn't even know. So they were being judged when they didn't know how to send out a proper email, and yet they'd never been given formal instruction on how to do that. And so that became the real goal that we had in developing our modules. So we were lucky enough to have braided funding from a couple of different sources through the state of California and through the Chancellor's Office, including adult education, CTE, EWD funding, and from that we were able to develop 20 lessons. So we have 2 lessons per skill, and these lessons were designed so that they can really be implemented within a 45 to 60-minute time frame. That means that they can be implemented in a classroom setting, as well as they can be expanded and turned into standalone workshops. And it includes kind of the entire package of what you would need. So it has lessons plans for instructors, presentations, the video series, which you'll also see is hosted off of our website. And we have a series of videos that are kind of funny what not to do videos. If anyone's familiar with Funny or Die videos on YouTube, they're very similar to that concept of creating a hyper reality to be able to show things that you would not want to do in the workplace. And then we have longer video assessments which show open-ended responses, and it can really help generate conversation amongst the trainer or the instructor and the students or the clients, so that you can discuss what is the most professional approach in this scenario. So we wanted to make sure we were really going through the process of not only combining research but vetting this with students and then creating improvements as we go. And so we did pilot it at Feather River College, which is a very small rural college with over 200 students. And then we were able to create our website. You'll see the web address here is just newworldofwork.org. And we were able to house all of our curriculum open source. And one thing I really want to emphasize here is that we had the goal that this was created with public funds, and we wanted it to go out to the public again for free. We wanted to make sure that there wasn't an access barrier to being able to use this curriculum. You can sign up and start using it tomorrow. So luckily we were able to get industry-driven regional collaborative funding, and that allowed us to expand our pilot to partner colleges across California. Interestingly, because we are able to have access where we download the curriculum, and we've seen that we now have organizations across the country that are signing up and that are starting to use the curriculum. So we even have a few international schools that have been using the curriculum, which is really exciting. So one of the big things that I wanted to address is kind of the why and the how. And why do we need to teach these 21st century skills? And this was a great conversation that I actually had with Rita and Susan before the webinar, of really condensing the concepts of why are you teaching these. Well, one is that you are in a facilitator mode with your students, whether you work for a workforce development board, if you are an instructor at a community college. We've even had instructors at the high school level who are using modified versions of the curriculum. And it's that you can act as a bridge. You can act as a bridge between what the students are doing currently, or what your clients are doing currently, and where they want to go, what their aspirations are. And so you really are helping them enter into this new world of work, and you're guiding them in their understanding of what are their core transferable skills. If they're potentially going to have over 30 jobs, which is the projection for millennials, that they may have up to 30 different jobs within the arc of their career, you're really helping them understand that it's not so much the work they're going into, but the skills that they can bring to it, and that's how they're going to be able to be viable workers. You're also able to align the skills education here with the potential of having workplace learning, and we really emphasize that as a win-win, that if your students are able to combine the skills education and then do some form of an internship, job shadow, or actual placement in an employer's setting, that's going to really help them, because they can have that living laboratory of practicing the skills. So I was going to run a poll, but I think that since Christine isn't able to access it, I'll just ask you to type in to the chat window the question of, are you actually using some form of 21st century skills education currently in your classroom or organization? And when you type into the chat window, you can send it where it's to the organizers and the panelists. So I'll be able to see it, and I'll take a look at some of the answers. But what we were seeing as we were partnering is that many organizations are using some form of skills education, and to really emphasize the fact that our lessons have been designed, one, to be open source, and two, to really be able to integrate into activities that you're already doing. So if you already, maybe you're using ACT work keys, or maybe you've designed an internal program that goes along with your industry, and that this can really just add to it. And so there's a very collaborative sense around the work that we're doing. And I wanted to kind of show an example of how that's working right now in California. So we do have a current curriculum pilot through the IDRC grant, as I mentioned. And right now we're being piloted at Columbia College, Feather River, Folsom Lake, Hartnell, Lassen, Santa Barbara, Santa Rosa, Shasta, the Southern California Biotechnology Center at Miramar and West Hills. And we've just had Skyline College, American River College, and Pasadena are adding in as well into our current grant cycle. So you'll see we really kind of cover all the regions that have been designated through the Chancellor's Office. And what's very interesting, and what I want to emphasize to everyone here who's listening who might be thinking, wow, I'd like to maybe try these lessons out, is that they can be integrated into existing coursework. You could design a course, or you could design a series of workshops where they're standalone and you're focusing on each of the skills individually. But many of our campuses have courses in place that they knew that this would be an enhancement, that this would go along with the work that they were doing. And as you can see from the list here, there's quite a range. And it's not just necessarily CTE specific courses either. We have it integrating into sociology courses. And then we do have some of the more traditional CTE courses, as well as integration into work experience courses. And interestingly, all of these courses have turned out to be 4-credit courses. So there's 2 levels at which a student can benefit. One, right now, they're actually earning academic credit to learn something in their discipline, as well as have the enhancement of the skills education. And then they're also being given that guidance through their instructors that these skills are ones that they're going to be parlaying into their future career success. So as we get into 2016, we have a couple of enhancements that we're working on, and this really comes into the partnerships that we're doing. So with the Foundation for California Community Colleges, we're actually developing 10 digital badges, one for each of the skills. The badges are going to be hosted through the Foundation's LaunchPath program, and the website is there, launchpath.com. And what we're looking at is that the badges act as micro-credentials. So what you have is students are going through the skills curriculum, and as a culminating piece of that, the instructors can be able to assist them in setting up profiles on LaunchPath, and then the students can try and assess for these digital badges. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with digital badging, but it's an online platform. It's an assessment. It's a series of questions. It also includes some of our video content. And with that, once they earn the badge, they're able to send it out open source, because it's through the Mozilla Open Badging platform. And they can put it on their LinkedIn profiles, they can put it on their own hosted websites, they can have employers look at it and really show verification that, yes, I do have social diversity awareness in a workplace setting. A couple of other things that we're doing right now is that we're partnering with the MDRC research group, and they're doing an external review of our data collection and assessment templates. And that's another element that we've built into this program, is not only do we have the curriculum, but we also have ways in which you can have formalized structure around tracking your students that are going through this, or your clients, and also having them do self-assessments on their awareness of the skills as they progress through the term or as they have completed a workshop. And one of the other programs that we have that we're looking at on a statewide level is that the Governor's Office a couple of years ago started the Civil Service Improvement Act, and that is to look at existing state workers and those coming into state employment. We're facing a retirement rate at the state level of almost 40% within the next 3 years. So there are a lot of state jobs that will be coming open, and the community college system is one very fantastic pipeline into those positions. And so part of CalHR's project with the CSI initiative was to look at how do you incorporate, as part of your vetting process, the idea around core skills or competencies. And so New World of Work was one of the models that was reviewed, and it was seen to be a model of reference for the state being able to create a similar program internally that will be able to vet potential employees against these 21st century skills.